I'm Matt Sconce. Thank you for purchasing Spin, whether it was in download or DVD form. I appreciate it, and I think you're going to get a lot out of this DVD. This is a little different than a lot of other psychokinetic DVDs. As you may know, I created Power Word Fall, and in that illusion, I tried to bring something new to the world of PK illusion. I'm always searching for the next thing that's going to feel like real magic. And I believe through Spin that I've done just that. As magicians, we all go through, I would call it the kind of disappointment of getting a new illusion, watching it, finding out the method, and realizing that it's not real magic. Because we all want to do real magic. And when you find that out, it's a little bit of a letdown. Even though you know it's coming, you know that they're not really going to do real magic in the illusion. When you get it, you know there's a trick, there's a gimmick, there's something that is going to make it work to give the audience the impression that it's real, even though you know how it works. Well, Spin is a little different that way, because usually when you get a magic trick, you're looking for a way to trick the audience into thinking that you're using an invisible force of some kind to move an object. But in Spin, you actually are using an invisible force to move the object. And that's why I love it. That's why it's the closest thing to real magic that I've come across. It's something that allows you to actually physically use the laws of physics to affect something without even touching it. And I think you're going to enjoy it. So let me just show you what I mean. So that brings me to the method, or the secret. I talked about an invisible force that we're using. And what in the world does that mean? Does that mean I'm like out there using the force? I'm just looking at it and commanding it. I'm like, move. You know, that would be kind of like Power Word Fall with me yelling fall at it. But this time we need to spin this thing. And we're actually using an invisible force to do it. And that invisible force, the secret, the method, it's been used in magic before, and I'm taking it to another level, is static electricity, otherwise known as electromagnetic force. And just to let you know, at first when you think of static electricity, you may think of things like, you know, your clothes sticking together in the dryer. You may think of styrofoam cups that, you know, stick to your hand, or you tear off that wrapper and you try to get rid of it and it's stuck to your hand and it annoys you. Well, it annoys me. Probably annoys you too. But it annoys you, right? It's little things, but static can be used for so much more. Let me just explain with an example. What is lightning? Lightning is when you have a buildup of static electricity down here on the ground, and you have a buildup of electricity up here in the sky, and then it discharges across to equalize the charge between both places, and that's what you see as lightning, right? Well, we're doing the exact same thing, minus the shocking component as that, to move things with spin. Electromagnetic force is the third most powerful force in the entire universe. So it's pretty cool that we have the ability to use it for our purposes, at our whim, to do what we want it to do, to move things more than a wrapper, to move things more than a straw, even though that's come beforehand. You can do a lot more with it. And that's what I'm here to show you. And that's what I'm really excited to show you too, because nobody expects you to use static when you move larger objects. They just don't see it, and it doesn't cross their mind. They think, he must be pushing it. He has to be blowing on it. Maybe it's magnetic, and their mind doesn't go to that place, because they're also used to static being kept in the realm of this little thing. And it's not. And you can control it, and that's spin. So just wait and see. So some of you may be thinking, static? It's static? I hope you're not even making that face. Because you shouldn't, because it's an exciting thing. You may be thinking, oh, that's so simple. I just bought this download. I just bought this DVD, and it's so simple. Well, if you've been a magician a while, you will know what I'm about to tell you. Simplicity for a method is what you want. You want something that is so simple, but not able to be discovered, but so simple that nobody can see it happening. There's no angle that you're going to mess up. There's no sleight of hand you're going to just, stumble over, and then people are going to find out the method. This is a method that's invisible. If you do this correctly, this is untraceable. It's a simple method, but simple is best, especially in psychokinetic illusions, because simple looks real. You also might be thinking, Those are pretty large objects. A giant butcher knife? How are you going to spin a giant butcher knife with static? A VHS tape? Is this practical? Can I do this when I'm walking around? Can I amaze my friends at parties? Can I do this at gigs? What can I do? Well, don't doubt. Just know that when you do this correctly, it works. When you learn how to do this and you practice it, you'll see, if done properly, you'll have to try to stop the things from touching you. Because the way static works, I'll get into a little brief explanation of it real quick so you'll know how foolproof it is. When you take something like a pin and you rub it against a part of your body like your hair, clothes, something I'm going to talk about later, what you're doing is you're stealing electrons from what you're rubbing it against. So if I rub it here, I'm actually taking electrons from my hair. They are sticking to the pin. So now it has all these electrons. And when it sets on something, and I put something up that is not charged and is neutral, they want to jump to the neutral area. And so they will move. And that's what we take advantage of. And it's just in varying degrees of that. So can you move heavy objects? You can definitely do that. There's a couple tricks to doing that, and I'll explain them later. So you're walking into a place in public. You're going to perform, whether it's a party, your friends, you're being paid to do it, and you walk in, and all you bring with you is a pen. Or maybe not. Maybe you walk in and ask them for a pen. And that's all you bring. And you set it on something that doesn't have a lot of friction, surface friction on it. You set it there and you say, I want to show you something that not many people understand. It's a psychokinetic force that I've discovered I can do. And you just take the pen that they've given you or that you've brought, you set it on a surface, you angle your hands, and you send your force into the pen. And then you blow their mind. Whether it's a pen, whether it's shooting around fast, whether it's a knife, whether it's a VHS tape, they've just seen you pick up an ordinary object that's totally not gimmicked. You have no sticky wax on you. You don't have any invisible thread. You've set down an ordinary object on an ordinary place. You've caused it to move without touching it directly in front of them, and they can immediately examine it, and you have blown their mind. Wait till you see the audience reactions with things like this, especially if you tell them things like, I'm going to try something. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just going to try something. And you set that thing down, and you angle your hands at it, and you're like, I'm going to focus on it. And then they are surprised to see it start to move. And then as you send your force, see it start to spin. And once you get it going, and you just keep spinning it and spinning it and spinning it, and you'll get good enough where it doesn't look like you're actually moving like crazy, they're going to be seeing a miracle right in front of their faces. And that's why we do magic. At least that's why I do magic. I do it to create that moment of awe in the audience's heart and in their mind, to take that moment and have them escape reality. I mean, reality is harsh. We want them to have that childlike moment where they just remember what it was like to have an imagination and where they enjoy the experience of that moment. And this is very basic. This is very simple to allow that to happen, because it just breaks all their norms of what they think is possible. It does the impossible right in front of their face, blatantly, and leaves them with that mystery. And I think they enjoy that. If this is that amazing, what are the limitations? You might be wondering that, and I'd like to answer those questions. This is a very foolproof illusion, and those are the ones I like, because you can walk in and do it. You know it's going to work. You know it's not going to fail on you. There's no mechanisms. There's no gimmicks. It's just going to work. There are a couple limitations, and they are, if you're in a wet environment, like you have wet hair, you've just been poured water on or something like that, if you try to do the illusion, like for instance right now, we're not in a wet environment. So if we go to do the illusion, we can actually perform it. But if you're in a wet environment, the electrons that you've stored onto this actually will shoot off onto the water droplets in the air, and they will discharge your pin. So you probably don't want to do this in the middle of a thunderstorm outside. Well, there's another reason too. You don't want to actually demonstrate lightning with yourself. But you don't want to do it in a rainstorm, because you're going to be out there and you will say, watch me as I bend the laws of time and space. And you'll go, oh, and nothing will happen, and you'll feel stupid. I'm sure you felt that way before when an illusion fails, and you might cry a little at home. Don't do it in public. And don't do this in the middle of a rainstorm. Also, the middle of a sauna is not a good idea. and especially if people are not clothed. So don't do it there. So in this DVD, what I'm hoping that you will learn is how to do the effect, what you can do with that method that you'll learn, how to avoid any limitations, any pitfalls, and basically just see that the sky's the limit, that you're going to have the opportunity to use something that most people thought was common knowledge and take it to the next level and amaze your friends, help your work, and just do some phenomenal things that feel when you're doing it like real magic. And that is what I love, and I hope that's what you get from this. Thank you very much for buying this DVD or download, and enjoy. So let's get started. I'm sure that you want to learn how to do this magic trick and not just sit here learning it all day long, so I will try to do that for you in the most strange and fun way possible. Okay, the way that you figure out if something will work is if it has an insulator. For instance, we will show you this knife. Now, I am showing you a knife. I'm not recommending that you go rub this against your body or play with knives. Please do not, and be very careful because they're very sharp, and the last thing you want to do is bleed all over the place. So don't play with knives, and just know that I'm showing it for demonstration purposes only. This knife is metal. Metal does not hold static charges, so when you do this effect with something like this, people will know it can't be static. But what they don't know is that a plastic handle is an insulator, and insulators will hold the electrons. So this plastic handle will let you do a trick with something that's metal. And you need to remember that, because even if something is metal, if it has something plastic on it and it balances on what you're going to put it on, you most likely can move it. So, just wanted to let you know that. So here's what you have to look for. You have to look for something that can balance on a surface, and you have to look for something that has an insulator or is completely plastic. And basically, that's about it. That's what you have to look for. You can usually spin anything that is like that. Once it gets to a certain weight, you have to really focus on the surface that you put it on, but I'll talk about that after I talk about the objects. So let me show you a couple objects. First of all, as I showed you, I have the large cutting knife. People don't expect you to be able to move knives with your mind. And that's pretty neat. I like the ability to be able to move things that people don't expect and spin them. Typical pin, Bic pins, a bunch of other pins that are like that, they work quite well. So you see the different pins that you can use. That's always a fail-safe. Have a pin in your pocket. You can perform a spin anywhere, anytime, blow people's mind. That's good. Scissors. Another thing that people will think can't move. They're metal, but they have an insulator. Deodorant sticks. Deodorant is heavy, but you can still spin it as long as you focus on your surface. You can move deodorant. It is a complete insulator. Then, VHS tapes. I really like this. VHS tapes are light, but they don't look light because they're big. So when you move something that is big, it blows people's mind even more. So VHS tapes are one of my favorite to move. DVD cases. You can move DVD cases. They are light enough to move. They'll hold a good charge. They're great. You can even move CD cases. You can move CD cases and set them flat, start to spin them. All these things move at a different pace, as you'll see too later on. Toothbrushes. Anything that's like this. Before I just move on, I'll just say dental floss is also fun to move. I probably should use it more, but it's fun to move. So, just realize anything that is shaped like this, that you can balance, that is an insulator, can be used with spin. So the sky's the limit. Find things that you want to move. Find things that I never even thought of and move them with spin. So next I want to talk to you about surfaces that you can perform spin on. First of all, I want to talk to you about surfaces you can not perform spin on. For instance, a small dog. Don't perform on a small dog. They do have a lot of static electricity, but they're a little slobbery, and people will just think you're a little strange. So, small dogs aside, what surface should you use to perform spin on? There are many, many different options, but there's one ingredient that has to be for all of them. They have to have a very smooth surface. They have to be very free of friction when you set the object that's going to spin on them. So, for instance, this one, if you can zoom in on this surface right here, if you notice it's really chromy, this is a bath and shower therapy eucalyptus oil thing. I don't really know what it is. I know I stole it from my wife's counter area where all her makeup is, so she'll find out later. But this right here is extremely low resistance when you have something spinning on it. And that's what you want to look for. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect like that, but that's really great. Something that looks like this, resembles this, is a salt shaker in a restaurant. Some salt shakers are the same way. Also, you know, any little edges of railings are the same way. But let's look at some other things. You can use the obvious 2-liter soda bottle. It's pretty smooth. You can use a milk carton. They also have a smooth top for doing the same technique. And then the nice fail-safe thing is this water bottle. If you look at the top of the water bottle, go ahead and zoom in on this. The water bottle is pretty flat. And that's not necessarily ideal because you want something that's a little more convex, so it bows outward like a circle. But if you notice, with the water bottle, it's smooth enough that you can still perform the effect on top of it, even though it's just, you know, flat. It's not that convex. It still works, and it will still work with your items, especially the light items. The more curved it gets, the more smooth it gets, the heavier objects you can put on it. So if you notice, I have apple juice container. Apple juice container works because of the curved convex area of it. I have this little guy, which is a lens cleaner to clean DVDs, and it's slightly convex, but it's really, really smooth. Works really well as well. So the smoother you get, and the more curved that you get, the heavier items you can put on it and spin. And that's kind of the mantra to remember when you go into a situation. When you're looking around the room, you can set things on many, many different things. You can set them on the handle of water pails. You can set them on a little bitty railing in between things. As long as there's a fulcrum that's smooth that you can set this knife, pin, VHS tape, whatever it is, on, then you can get it to move. And that's really the secret of picking your surface. If you pick your surface well, and you've picked your object well, the effect will work, and it will work extremely strong. If you pick a bad surface, the effect probably will still work. It just won't be as powerful as it could have been. So pick your surface well, take your object, and create magic. So now you know how the method works. You know that we're using electromagnetic force, the third most powerful force in the universe. You should feel awesome. But now how do you apply it? How do you do it? How do you charge your object? We're going to talk about charging the object. We're going to talk about misdirection. And we're going to talk about the large objects and doing the charging with them and figuring out the difference between that and a lighter object. So let's begin. Charging an object. Like I said earlier, charging an object is when you rub the object against either clothing or hair or fur or cloth of a certain type like wool, and you rub it and you steal its electrons. You therefore charge your object, and you're then able to move it using electromagnetic force. So, how do you charge it? There's a couple different methods. The method I use most frequently, because hair is a great area to steal electrons from, it really fast, charges objects quite well, I use the back of my head. So, if we're using a pin, you take the pin, you hold it by the cap. Now, the reason I want to say the cap is because it insulates it. So when the cap goes on, you insulate the pin. Therefore, if you charge this part, it keeps it even though you're touching it. So it keeps charged, and you can still touch it, just touch the cap, not the pin. As soon as you touch the pin, charge is gone. So, cap. You hold the cap, you rub it against the back of your head like so. I'll rub it a couple times this time. But if you just rub it up and down a little bit, boom, we are now charged. If you set the object down, you'll notice I set it down on the lens cleaner. You then move your hands in, and however you want to start, slow or fast, you start the illusion going. And that is with just a simple charge on the back of your hair. You can charge it more. So you can charge it like if you're walking up to a crowd and they haven't seen you, you can just rub it on the back of your hair, you're walking up, now you're ready. You talk, oh, have you guys seen this? Set it down. You can then perform it, and you have a lot bigger charge, moves a lot faster. It could be because it's attracted more. So that is one way to charge it. You can charge it with the back of your hair. If you were charging something like the knife, you would do the same thing. You'd be quite careful so you don't chop your fingers off. It's always a pain, literally. You take this, you rub the back of your hair, boom. You set it down, you set it down on, because it's a large object, you set it down on a smooth surface because it works better. Smooth and round. Remember, smooth and convex. You set it on that surface. Once it's balanced on the surface, you can then cause it to move. Now, making a large object move starts slowly. So you'll notice you power it on, and little by little, the object moves. When it gets momentum, you can let go, and it will just continue on to the next area where it's attracted to your body. Like it has a force of its own. So anyway, that's how you charge a larger object. The same exact way if you use the hair method. A couple rubs on the back of your hair, it steals enough electrons, boom, you're ready to go. So that's the first way that you can do it. Another way is if you take something and you charge it if it's still in your pocket. For instance, what if this is in your back pocket? You can take it in your back pocket. You can walk up with it in your back pocket. You can take it in your back pocket and rub it back and forth against the cloth. So I'll do that right now. As you're talking to him, you just rub it. It's in your back pocket. You rub it back and forth. You take it out. Set it on the surface. And now you've just charged it with clothing. It stole electrons from your pants or whatever you're wearing. So that's another way to charge it. And that way works well. It doesn't work as well as hair just because it doesn't take as many electrons right away from rubbing it on your pants or on your hair. So those are two methods. So to recap, you can charge an object on your hair, or you can charge it on your clothing. If you're wearing a wool shirt of some type, you can rub it on your shirt and charge it that way. Now, that's how you charge something. The more that you do it, the more electrons that you get on it, and the more powerful it is. But how in the world are you going to do that without people seeing you? Are you just going to walk up to them and you're like, so I was thinking that, you probably aren't going to do that, right? So what do? You have to misdirect. We're magicians. We obviously are used to misdirecting, a little bit of audience management. You're going to need those skills in this moment if you choose to charge it in front of them. You can do this effect and charge it before you walk up to them. You can do this effect before you even engage them. So they could be standing right next to you, and you could pick up a pen. As they're talking over there, you're just like, oh, a couple times, right? And then they turn around, and you start your effect. It's already charged, no funny business, but if you want to charge it right in front of them, it takes a little bit of misdirection. The way that I've done it is I will ask them, hey, do you have a pen? They pull out their pen. They hand me the pen. I make sure it has a cap, remember, because you want it to be insulated. You can do this effect without a cap, but it's a little trickier and it looks a little more awkward. I'll show you that in a second, though. So here it is. It has a cap. They hand it to you. Now, you want to charge this, but you don't want them to see. So you could ask them something like, do you have any paper? Can you see? Just check. I just need a piece of paper. They'll look down to get a piece of paper. As they look down, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. They look back up. You're like, I'm going to write that down in a second. Or whatever your spiel is, whatever you made them look for, whether it's a key, whether it's another pin. But then when they look down, you have successfully charged the object that they just handed you. And then you're set to go with spin. Now, when you give it back, all you have to do, you pick up the pin from here. It discharges the pin. You hand it back. They're not able to do the trick. It's totally safe, totally perfect. And that is how you just hand it right back. So that's how you misdirect with the hair swipe. You point them somewhere else. You may be talking to them and you're like, have they seen the trick? And as they look over that way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, you're done. It works sometimes with just one. It can work with 5. It could work just with a swipe. It works. It just depends on the level of it. It depends on the dryness in the air. And you'll know because you can test it out and you'll see for yourself wherever you live. What does it take to make the effect work? For me, it's about 1, 2 will work. I like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put it down. Then it works strongly, which allows you to do the spin. And the nice thing about that is it lets you do the spin, and then when it zooms around the corner, you don't have to follow it. You can just let it move all the way around because it has momentum. I like that about it. So that's how you misdirect with the hair. How do you misdirect with the pocket? Well, that's simple. If you have your pen in your pocket, as you're talking to them, as long as you're not like, look, I am shaking my arm, then you can charge the pen in your pocket and then pull it out, and now you're ready to go. So that's a way to do it that way. Another way is if you have a strip of wool in your pocket, you can actually be charging the pin against the wool. You have your hands in your pockets and you just move the pin against the wool slightly in your right pocket and then pull it out strongly like a match. and you then have a charged pin from a strip of wool that was in your pocket. So those are a couple ways to misdirect. Another way is if you don't want to misdirect, if you just want to do the trick, like I said before, you walk up with it already charged. Then you can jump right into the effect. That works well. If you can't do that, those are some ways that you can misdirect. But it's really easy to do. You can even do it right in front of their face with no misdirection. I've done that many times. And they think you're scratching your head. And so you can just be sitting there. Obviously, you don't want to probably be sitting there with a giant knife. And you're just like, so... It's a little awkward, right? So you don't want to be carrying a giant knife around anyway. But if you have something like this, as you're talking to them, you're just casually just scratching your head a little bit. Oh, I'm charged right there. Look, here we go. That simple. We are then moving the pin. So it's really easy to charge. And like I said, you can do it right in front of their face, and they usually don't suspect anything because it's just natural. You're just itching your head. You don't draw attention to it. You can misdirect. You can do something down here. You're looking at something. There, it's charged. Very simple, nonchalant. If you draw attention to it, obviously they will notice it. If you're just like, obvious, right? So misdirect, use some audience management skills, and you'll soon be spinning whatever it is that you're spinning, and they'll be none the wiser. So let's talk about charging larger objects. They're a little bit more difficult than charging smaller objects. Like I said earlier, smaller objects, one swipe usually can charge them. That also charges larger objects, but you need slightly more electrons on there. You need more charge to make them move because they need more drawing them to you. So what do you do? Well, what I usually do, with a big object, obviously the heaviest one that we're working with in this demo is this knife. It has 3 metal rivets. It is stainless steel. It is definitely a heavy knife with a heavy plastic handle. So it's something that you can't just move simply. And you definitely can't just move with static electricity. You can, but people will think you can't. So what do? This is something that you might want to charge before you get to them, unless you're really good at misdirection. If you're good at misdirection, you could be sitting there talking to them. The conversation could turn that way. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You put it on your smooth surface. And then if you notice, with just 5 swipes, you start to move an object as heavy as this knife. Because I chose a smooth surface, like I talked about earlier, and the smooth surface allows almost no resistance. So as long as it's balanced and it has an insulator that's insulated, then the knife will spin. And so that's how you can do a large object. You can charge it quickly. You can practice on whatever the object is just to see how many times you have to charge it. For this, I only needed 5. I might have gotten away with 3. So you could use misdirection again, or you can just, right before you start the trick, pick up the knife, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you start the effect. Have you ever seen when people do this? Boom. You do it. It's awesome. So that's the way to charge something like a big knife. What about a CD case? A CD case, I consider a big object just because of its width. That's the only reason I consider it. It's very light. When the CD's in it, it's obviously a little heavier. If the DVD's in it, slightly heavier. It's the same basic thing. You hold near the edge, because if you notice, when you hold this, you're actually holding what you're also charging. The way to get around having to hold a cap of something is you hold as far out on the edge as possible. So you leave a lot of it charged without it escaping to your hand. So I take this. It's the same thing. You rub it on the back of your head. You set it down. And if you notice, just a little bit of charge goes a long way. So that's how you'll charge something like that. Again, misdirection can help you, or you can just prepare before you get there, or you can just scratch your head with it. You're just like, oh, I'm charged. And so that's how you do that. What about something big? For instance, a DVD case. Same basic thing. You pick the side you're going to want to charge. This is probably something that would look a little awkward, charging it, just nonchalantly scratching your head because it's so big. So this would be something that right before they look or right before you engage them, you just do that with. Set it down. And then start it moving and the magic happening. Now, I'll talk about something in a second that I think really helps is, and it's hard to do because you want to make sure it's working correctly, but once you've charged something like this and you set it down, you don't want to just stare at the area that you're trying to move. For instance, if I just stared at the handle of the knife, that probably wouldn't be that good because then they all stare there. And as magicians, we know that. We want to make them look where we want them to look, not where we don't want them to look. So if we're moving something large, like this knife, and we've charged it, and we set it down, when we're actually spinning this thing, we don't want to stare straight at the handle. So if we're spinning this, you don't want to stare and focus on the place that's causing it to move. You want to not focus there. So you want to get good enough that you can focus on the place that is impossible. You can't be statically charging the edge of it, right? Over here, but everybody looks that way. Oh, is he going to cut himself? Nope. You know, and then you're looking, but at the same time, you're drawing it towards you on this side and keeping their focus on the other side. So that's one way to misdirect when you're actually moving a large object. Don't stare at the spot you're moving. Look at the spot you want them to look at, and that will help them not notice the fact that it has a plastic handle. Let's move on to VHS tape. VHS tapes, in my opinion, are one of the neatest things to see move. And the reason I really like them moving is because they look really heavy. So once you charge them, they take a little bit more charging just because there's a lot of surface area around here. So you take your hands. I like to go into a VHS move with the force move where you stop and let it come to you. So you come down here and you just let it come to you. You just wait. And you obviously don't look at where you're pushing. You look at the whole tape. And then you let it move to your other hand. You how to set your object free. It's very important. So once it's stable and it's set, you do like the force start where you do this and it starts to be attracted to your hand. Then as it's coming by, you'll build up momentum, and you'll notice as you build up momentum, you can set your object free, which means it's traveling without you touching it. To the next side where you've given it a little bit of oomph, you set it free. It travels all the way around without you touching it because of its momentum. And then you just pick it up a little bit, let it be attracted to you with that amazing third most powerful force, and it continues to travel. That's setting your object free. The reason that's powerful is because you can focus on other areas of it that people don't expect. You can like be focusing over here, but you've set it free, so you don't have to be connected to it. And people are like, how is he moving it if he's not connected to it? That's setting your object free. That's very important, because if you just lead your object, if you're like, look, there it comes, look, it's attracted to my finger. Isn't that amazing? People are going to know what's going on. So you don't want them to connect your hand to the object. You want them to think, how's he doing that? You can't attract metal with static. And that's what you want them to think. So set your object free as you do this, and it will really, really help. So let's talk about technique. What technique can you use to make people not know what method you're using? Well, first of all, if you're using smaller objects, you have to be trickier because smaller objects can be moved by static. If you're using a bigger object, people aren't going to assume that you're using static. So on the small ones, there's a couple things you can do. First of all, after you charge the object, you set it down, what you don't want to do is you don't want to lead it obviously. Like watch my finger. If I go, watch this, and I shall now lead it. Isn't it amazing? Look, I'm amazing. People are like, look, his finger has something to do with it. You don't want them to do that, okay? So what you want to try to do is have them, like I talked about earlier, setting the object free, you want them to think that your hands don't necessarily have something to do with it. It's your mind exerting force through your hands. So that's why the force start is great, because both your hands look normal. What you do, make L's with your hands. Then you take them and you throw them at the object, making sure that one of your thumbs is closer to the end without the cap, or with whatever's ends charged. So you take it, you make your force hands, you throw it, which starts the object, and now if you watch, you let it be attracted to your hands, but you don't lead it. You just kind of move your hands in a magical gesture which keeps it moving around because you're attracted to it. I mean, it's attracted to your hand just like that, but you're not necessarily doing anything except letting it fall towards your hand like something in orbit around the Earth. So when something falls around the Earth, it always wants to fall, but it never falls into the Earth, and that's a perfect orbit. It just continues to fall forever around the Earth. You want the pin to continue to fall forever towards a part of your body. So if you give it enough momentum to whip it around in the circle, you want it to come back. See, it's attracted to this thumb right here, and it wants to whip around and be attracted to that thumb. See, so it has enough momentum that it carries it around the entire time. That's important. You notice all I did with my thumb is move it up, down, minimal moves. Minimal is the key. The less you do with your hands, the more powerful this illusion is. So, minimal. It's attracted, and you just let it continue to be attracted, but giving it enough momentum to keep it spinning all the way back around your thumb. You can use the back of your hand to do the same thing. So you can have one of your hands right here, just kind of attracting it, and the other one can be the thumb. You can use any part of your body that is subtle and can send it through that orbit of being attracted and then spinning. Attracted and spinning as you're just focused on the magic of the moment. That's what you can do. And obviously the same thing is true with the large object, as I showed earlier. You set this down on the frictionless surface, and you do the same thing. You start it moving, and as it moves, obviously at the start you have to get it to have momentum, but you let go, and then it's attracted to the next part of your hand, as you see, and then you let it go. You can set it free like I talked about earlier, and now it's going to be attracted to the back of my hand. See, there it is, but I'm forcing that side, and then I let it go. Now it's attracted to that hand as I look over there. It gives it enough momentum. Moving down it, it's attracted to my finger. And that's how you continue something to be attracted to your body without making it obvious, without just pointing at it and going, look, it's being attracted. Minimal is better, fluid is better, and if both hands look like they're doing something similar, that's just the best, because people won't isolate it to one hand. If both hands are doing something that's similar, people will just say, wow, it looks like real magic. So that's something that you can do. So practice that, you'll get your own moves down for spin. And that's talking a little bit of technique. I'm now going to move on to a little bit of technique with a VHS tape. So a VHS tape, you want to make sure it's good and charged. Then you set it down onto a frictionless surface, as frictionless as you can get, so that you can balance it, the same as a knife, same as any other heavy object. Once it's there, it's going to take a second to pick up momentum. So you can do something where it looks like you're exerting force downward. So if you're like pushing force downward, I'm really like, my right hand is shaking, but my left hand is pulling. And my left hand is moving, but my right hand looked like it was. So a technique for misdirection with the tape is that when you set it down and you're forcing it, you misdirect with your eyes and with your hand. And like I said, based on what surface you choose, the longer it can spin. If you balance it straight in the center of a tape, then it will spin longer than if it's on the side. But for what I'm doing, this surface is just really, really smooth. So I put it on. And then I move it. And now you've moved a VHS tape with the power of your mind. So now let me talk to you about micro objects. Micro objects spin a little bit differently than bigger objects or even the medium-sized objects. By micro object, I mean something that is small and kind of irregular shaped. This dental floss is a good example because it's kind of a square. It's not long enough to start like a pin movement or a knife movement, so it's going to spin differently. And I want to show you the technique. So first of all, you charge it. And once you've charged it and you've set it down, you're going to be creating a little motion, kind of like playing an instrument. And you start it moving, you'll notice that once it starts moving, you're going to have to do a couple different things to get to spin. Your fingers are a lot closer to it because it's square, and you're really close to the fulcrum. And then you move your fingers like you're a piano player. It's important that you get enough momentum to want to be carried towards your body. So you just performed the most amazing trick somebody's ever seen. Their mind is blown. They might be passed out on the floor, just utterly amazed. But whatever it is, when you're done with the trick, you have some cleanup to do. It's definitely the simplest cleanup that I've ever seen in a magic trick, but it's pretty amazing because it's so simple. Here it is. You're spinning it. People are utterly amazed. That guy fell over, like I said. It's going around. You're done with your trick. People clap. They're amazed. And then you need to give the pin back. Well, you don't want to hand the pin back like this, because if you do, the charge is still there. And they might pick it up because they want to be wise guys. Pick it up and be like, I can do it too. So what you do is when you pick it up, you just pick it up by this end of it. Pick it up by this end of it and you hand it back. Thank you very much for the use of your pin. Then they pick it up and they're like, ooh, can I do it? And they put it down and they try, and nothing they can do will work because you have cleaned up by just taking all the electrons from there and them jumping to a neutral state. Boom. You are completely clean and good. Same thing with the knife. You have the knife and you're using the knife. Maybe you're in a kitchen. Maybe you just chop some sushi or something and you're spinning it and you're done spinning it and they want their sushi knife back because somebody ordered it. So as you're spinning it and it's moving and they're just utterly amazed, you go, oh, I need to hand it back. You pick it up by the charged part. Boom. Handle. You, of course, don't hand it back to them. You hand it back to them like this, but now it's totally not going to work. So that's how you clean up. You just touch the part that's charged. Boom. Trick is clean. You're good to go. That's your cleanup. It's that simple. So now let's talk about some additional tips and tricks for spin. What do you do if somebody hands you a pin in a restaurant or something, or you have a pin that you want to do this trick on, and this is regarding just the pin, and it doesn't have a cap on it? Because you want to use a cap because it insulates the pin, but what if it doesn't have a cap? They hand you this pin and you asked for it, so what are you going to do? Say, oh, I needed one with a cap. And then their red flags go up. They're like, why does he need one with a cap? So you can still do the trick without a cap. You hold as far away as possible from the end of the pin. You charge it the same way. And then when you set it down, you keep holding as far away as possible from the end of the pin. It's harder to balance because you don't have the cap to lock it into place. Once you get it balanced, it's the same basic thing. You've maintained a charge because you have held far enough away. And you'll notice the cap gives it stability that it doesn't have when it doesn't have it on. If the cap is on it, when it spins, the cap puts this little brake down, which lets it spin and spin and spin and spin. And without the cap, it rolls off your surface pretty quickly. So you still want to use a cap, but that's the tip of how to use it, how to do spin, how to not just, be defeated, to be like, yo, I can't do it because it doesn't have a cap. That's how you do the trick, even if it doesn't have a cap, to do spin. So that's the first trick. The second trick that I want to show you involves another pin. Here's something else that you can do with spin. It's kind of fun. It takes it in a different direction. You might be able to use it, you might not, but it's definitely an additional fun thing for me to teach you. First is you already know how to use spin on a pin, and if you charge a pin and you set it down, you'll notice if you have an uncharged pin and you put it near it, it wants to be attracted to your uncharged pin the same as it's attracted to, say, your hand, right? Your uncharged pin wants to attract it. So if you charge a pin, what does it do? If you charge the other pin and you come to it charged, it now has the like charge with what you charged here. So as you push it, it now will push the pin. So if you notice, it moves the pin. It doesn't attract it anymore. It actually pushes the pin. It wants to stay away from this pin because it's repelling it like a magnet. It's kind of an interesting thing that you can use. You might be able to use it, you might not. What you can do with this is when you have them charged both at the same time, the cool thing about that is you can do kind of a musical thing where you conduct an orchestra of movement. You move your hands down, and as you come back, it pushes the pin. Your other thumb attracts it. As it comes around, your thumb attracts it. You push the pin. So it's like a conductor conducting an orchestra as you come through. And it continues to repel it if your timing's right and keeps the momentum of the pin going because it's repelling it. So you can use the pin in a lot of different ways. And that's just another fun thing that you can do with the pin. So those are a way you can use two pins with spin. And let me take it one step further. You can also use objects to simulate that they're magic objects. So if you take a pin that's charged, you set it on its surface, and then you tell people that you need a magic coin. Maybe it's a bunch of kids. I need a magic coin. Does anybody have a quarter? Maybe they do. And you write, magic or their name on it, and then you charge it. Then when you take this quarter and you move it towards the pin is magically attracted to it. Whoa, it's a magic quarter. And they're amazed because it's their quarter that's doing it. And then once you give it back to them, you're like, you know what? You better be careful with that. Make sure that when your parents are driving, you know that you're careful with that because it has a lot of power. So that's something that you can do with objects. You can use objects to move things also. And it's just something that's fun to do. You can do the same thing with any object that's coming through because the electrons want to jump to it. But it works really well when it's something that you're holding that's really close and in tight with your hand because it also uses your hand to do. So again, the magic quarter, big hit at a party or something that you're doing, it spins it for a long time and then you can give the coin back and it's a souvenir. So another thing you can do, remember the sky's the limit, come up with your own stuff and have fun. So in conclusion, first of all, thank you so much for watching this DVD or download. I appreciate your purchase, and I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope you take what you learned here with Spin to be able to go out there and create those moments of magic for people that bring joy in their lives, give them back that little bit of childlike innocence. When you create those moments, let me know about them. I would love to hear about them. Some of the Power Word Fall moments have really made my day when I found out the moments that you created for people and the amazing stories of blowing people's mind and what they said. Feel free to send me those. I really enjoy them. And just know, the sky is the limit. What you learned here in Spin, I hope, allows you to do tons more things with it that I've never even thought of. So go out and do them and create magic. And thank you. From Paper Crane, this was Spin.
Hi, my name is Sean Dunn. I'm from Paper Crane Magic. And I want to show you a different idea using this concept. I applied this to the idea of using a card trick. Basically, with this effect is you're going to use kind of a yes or no idea. In this effect, I have someone select a card. And in the process of doing the routine, I control the card, and I'm sure you know a method or have a favorite method of your own. I go through, I glimpse what their card is, and what I'm basically doing is, in this example here, the Jack of Clubs is what I'm going to go for. That's their card. I'm looking for a red Jack, say the Jack of Diamonds. I just cut that to the bottom, and I set that down to the left. I go back and I find the Jack of Clubs, and I select that to the right. I mentioned to the spectator to not tell me if I have their cards. I explain that a lot of people know of an example of a gypsy or a fortune teller where they use a pendulum and it kind of gives them answers. A lot of people are familiar with the Ouija board where it kind of directs your energy towards a yes or no answer or letters and things like that. People are familiar with these concepts. But we have two cards. One card may or may not be yours, and the other one may or not be yours too. What you're going to do now is you have the pen placed after it's been charged on, in this case, it's a sugar dispenser. It could be a bottle, it could be a chapstick container, whatever you choose. If you choose to place their card on the left side, my left, you would place your hand over here. I've chosen to put it on the right side, so I'm putting my hand on this way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to direct the pen to point to this card, and the pen will tell us what card is their selected card. Okay, now that you know that basic idea of the card effect I just showed you, why stop there? You know, you can take that same application and use it to divine, you know, borrowed objects, things like that. Just get the creative juices flowing, and there's a lot of different things that you can come up with that. What I like about that idea is that it doesn't have a full spin, and it's a subtle movement, and it kind of just shows like it's not just an instant revelation. There's a nice build up, and it kind of really draws the spectator in until you are at their selected item. There's a moment of, well, is he going to be able to figure it out? Is the pin going to go which way? Is it going to be wrong? Is it going to be right? So I like that idea because it just adds a little bit of versatility to the idea, and I'm sure you're going to come up with some great ideas yourself. So thanks.
Hey guys, Shane Black here with Paper Crane Magic. First time I saw this trick with Matt Sconce, when he did this trick, I was completely floored by it. And over the past few months, I've kind of played with it off and on. And after talking to Sean Dunn and Mandy Hartley here at Paper Crane, we kind of brainstormed, and they kind of gave me a few ideas and pointers. And this is some of the routines I kind of came up with using some of the ideas that we brainstormed all together. So let's get into that. Okay, guys. This is one of the routines I've played with, and here it goes. So, 2 versions. Actually, that was 4, but we're going to go with 2 versions. If you are under the age of 21, you can't drink. I don't condone drinking to minors, just to say that up front. But if you are underage, do this with spoons. Get you a spoon. I would say probably 5 spoons. And place them face down where the bottom is face up, obviously. And go from this point forward. But right now, I'm going to demonstrate it as if you were at a pub and you have grabbed 5 bottle caps. This is how it looks. Okay, we'll place these bottle caps here. Evenly spaced there. And Miss Mandy, can you do me a favor? Can you say stop on any card? Okay. Take a look at that card and remember that card, okay? I'm going to place these cards and give these cards a couple of cuts, just like so. Now, you got 1 card in mind, yes? Now, this card could be a black card, could be a red card, could be a low card, could be a face card. I don't know, so I'm going to have to guess. I never got paid to practice, so this is what I'm going to do. 10 of clubs, I'm going to place right here. 10 of clubs, I'm going to place right here. 10 of clubs, I'm going to place right here. 10 of clubs, I'm going to place right here. And 10 of clubs, I'm going to place right here. Yes, this is one of those decks that can get you shot, especially back in the day. So what I need is, you got 5 cards. Of one of them, I'm assuming, I get a feel for it, could possibly be the card Mandy's thinking of. And you got that card in mind, right? You got it locked in your mind. Tell you what, I'm going to use this card. And I'm going to try to get everything out of your way so you can see this. And I'm going to wave this card over the cards, and it's going to just give me a sense. One of these cards. Wait a minute. Look at that. Remember I said 10 of clubs earlier. Never trust a magician. Unless one of them is 10 of clubs. But this one gave me a good sense here. And what was your card, Mandy?
9 of clubs.
The 9 of clubs. Okay, guys, earlier you saw me perform with the bottle caps. And I mentioned the spoons, turning the spoons face up, face down. You don't necessarily have to do 5. You can do 3. so the cards aren't so close to each other, so you don't have to worry about them moving. You will need to do one thing to do this routine. You'll need to purchase yourself a plastic deck of cards. I find that the Prestiges work really good. The problem is, you go buy a cheap deck of plastic cards, you're going to have problems manipulating the cards and doing double lifts. They're very clumpy. These almost act like an actual regular deck of cards. They're very smooth. Double lifts, culls, everything work really naturally on these cards. So I strongly suggest getting the Prestige bikes. They're 100% plastic. So I know they're a little pricey, but they're worth it, because think about it. Regular paper bicycle cards, well, they wear out. These plastic ones are going to wear out. You're going to be able to use this deck for a long time. I've had this deck since they came out, and that was about a year ago. So that deck will work. I used for the base bottle caps, which you don't have to use bottle beer caps. You can use soda caps. You know, some states still sell those. You can use rings. If you're going to use your rings, you can balance one of the cards on your rings if you want to do that. As well as money. If you got money in your pocket, I would not use half dollars. I would actually use a stack of nickels, dimes, or something with a smaller base to balance the card on, to get a better spin. So let me give you some pointers on the routine that you saw itself, and let me go ahead and walk you through that. You can use 5 or 3. In this sample, I'm just going to do 3 just so I can get to it. And 3 is kind of nice. It gets you a little space in between each card, so you don't have to worry about one card moving next to the other. That does happen when you use 5 cards. They're very close. The static can pick up. These cards are naturally static charged whenever you pull them out. So what you're going to want to do is control the card to the bottom. At some point, as you're talking, if you have a scarf, you can have a scarf over you with the wool. I think Matt talks about that earlier, about different materials and apparel that you wear to make the static work a little bit better. I had controlled their card to the bottom, and I'm not going to go into that right now. I just want to give you a quick overview of what it was that I was doing. I was charging the card as I was talking. I was saying, did you have a red card? Did you have a black card? Did you have a purple card? Okay. So I'm sitting here charging the card as is, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull cards from the middle, and I think I went over and said it's a 10 of clubs, it's a 10 of clubs. That's just to get people's attention. There's no real purpose to the patter except to take their attention off while I'm charging the card, to buy myself some time. So this is the charged card. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to talk, and I'm just going to rub my hands up and down on my pants leg again, charging the card. Now if you have a scarf or something, just rub it on the scarf like we talked about. Now that I got that charged, you could cut the card to the middle and say, here, we'll just take a card out, and that's the one you just charged. So as you can see, charge this up a little bit more. You can see it spin right there. Let me take these bottle caps away. Now you might be able to get these to spin. See, these will spin as well. Like I said, they're naturally charged. So what you're going to do is you're going to run the card at about 4 inches above the cards, because you could get static at 3. See? So you don't have to necessarily be very close. You could be, I'm going to say, about 3 inches from the card itself. You could see it wanting to spin already. So what I do is I just kind of keep it about 4 inches as I go back and forth, making sure that I'm almost, this is a drastic move here I'm showing you. I'm tapering the card up and down. But you're not going to do it this much, obviously. Okay, so as I get closer to the card, you can see that, look. And what I like to do is turn the card over so it shows that my fingers did not move the card. Look. This moment is just, it's insane. When people see this, they're going to be like, for 2 reasons. 1, they're going to know you didn't blow on the card because the card is covered by the other card. Okay? 2, there's no way you could have had strings attached to this card because it would have pulled the card off the cap itself. Okay, so you're spinning the card. Okay? And you say, okay. one card. What was your card? And they name it. The 8 of hearts. Just pick these up and put these away. Don't even leave them on the table at that point. Just pick up the deck. Okay? You're going to have some audience management here, because a lot of people, when they see this, they're going to want to try it themselves. That's why you want the cards off the table in your hand, ready to be put up. And you can just take the card back and put them into your pocket. Don't leave the cards on the table, because someone else is going to want to pick them up and balance them and see if it's some type of static electricity. Generally, if you presented it correctly, they're going to just freak out at that moment. I mean, they're just going to see this and they're going to go. And the little subtlety that I showed you with turning the card over and moving it, that shows that your fingers are not moving the card. Because if I'm doing this, sometimes people, they think I'm moving or something. And this is why you want this distance, and you want to go ahead and turn the card over, because now they see all of your fingers shown as you move it, as you move away. So it's a nice little subtlety there, just to hide the fact that you are actually doing what they think you're doing. So, bottle caps, spoons, coins, and rings. So, thank you.